Hello everyone and welcome to round 10 of the 2018 World Rapid Championship. I actually started recording this video already, but I had the names written differently, so I had to start over. But luckily I caught up to it during the first 2 minutes. Just listening to the amazing commentary of the official broadcast by Peter Leko and Evgeny Miroshnichenko, it's incredibly difficult to decide which games to show. Even as they are doing it real time, it is such an impossible task to cover all of the games, not only from the open section but also from the women's section. And by the end of the day, there are so many rounds played that you would need a hyperbolic time chamber to create like 100 videos per day of all the amazing games that were played. But I will be checking up on your suggestions, so feel free to use the hashtag suggestion. And I will try to cover as many games as possible. Like I said, this is a game from round 10. Carlsen had a pretty bad start at the first day, so this is the second day. We are going to discuss the results of the second day, and I will be showing the standings after day 2, but I will do more videos about day 2, and then we're gonna check it out. Here he faces a grandmaster from Tajikistan, rated almost 2700 in rapid. I think it's around 2680. But rapid ratings are, they change so fast, so not really relevant. For example, Andrew Tang is rated 2280 or something, or 2230 something, and well, he's a very strong grandmaster, so that doesn't really matter. But without further ado, let's get straight into the game. Carlsen has the white pieces, and he opens with d4. We have knight to f6, knight to f3, and the g6. We have knight bd2, sorry about that, and bishop to g7, e4 and d6. Bishop to b5 check c6, kicking the bishop back. We have bishop to d3 and now castles. And there was one game in the database where this position has been reached, also from 2018. Daniel Dubov played e5 here. That game ended in a draw, but here Carlsen plays kingside castle, and here we have already for move 7 a completely new game. And okay, black continues developing. We have queen to c7. Preparing maybe to push e5 at some point, rook to e1, and now definitely e5 does come. c3, Carlsen keeps everything together, improves on his very nice center, and knight b to d7. Black now continues developing. This knight might come to b6 at some point, and well, it really depends on what white plays. We have a4, preparing to meet knight b6 with a5, and b6 by black, preventing a5. Well, not preventing it, a5 is still possible, but at least the black is ready for it. And you might also consider developing your bishop to b7. We have knight to f1 by Carlsen, remaneuvering this knight to g3 now, bishop to b7 and h3. We have rook f to e8, black continues developing, knight to g3 and now a6. So black will be interested at pushing b5 at some point in the future. Bishop to g5, a much more active square for the bishop, and already if black decides to push it away with h6, you will create some targets. Black does go for h6, we have bishop back to d2, and now we have b5. b4 by Carlsen, and now you don't really have the option of capturing on a4. If you capture and rook captures, then there will the attack against the a6 pawn will be simply too overwhelming. Black will either have to open up the position with a5. If you allow the pawn to stay there, then white it will be very easy to attack the pawn. But it will be a much better position for white. So after b4, of course you don't want to break the tension, knight to b6, and now Carlsen simply pushes it away. We have a5 and knight goes back to d7. And black can be very happy here, as the queen side is now completely closed. Now black can focus on the center and on the king side. Queen to c1, as by playing h6, black created a target. Carlsen now attacks it. So king to h7, defending the h6 pawn, and now comes c4, as the queen also further supports the c4 pawn. Rook a to c8, black now sort of finishes development, but still it's not very clear what black will do about this bishop on b7. Until this bishop is activated, it's like it's not even there. At some point you will play c5, so there's the possibility of activating it that way, but that time still has not come. So first d captures on e5, and here black misses the opportunity as white controls more space. It's a general principle in chess: if your opponent controls more space, you do wanna trade down and relieve the tension, the pressure on your own pieces. And here perhaps capturing with the knight would have been better. Knight captures, pawn captures, and black might be able to go rook d8 and then perhaps bring the bishop into the game. But here black played d captures on e5, perhaps a bit too optimistic. Because now comes the bishop to e3, and bishop to e3 is a very nice move by Carlsen. As you can see, the only open file on the board is the d file, and black will not really be able to use it. If rook d8, then still you're not going to be able to use it if the knight doesn't move from d7, and that's why it was perhaps a bit better to exchange this knight. If you move the knight, then this bishop is coming to b6, and you will not be controlling the d file. But there was one possibility to do it. Knight to f8 is a very nice move. It does leave control of the b6 square, but then after bishop to b6 you can go queen to d6, and now you can still kind of control the d file a bit via rook to e7 and rook to d7. But okay, Mr. Farrukh Amonatov has a different plan. We have queen to b8, getting the queen out of any attacks by bishop to b6. We have rook to d1 by Carlsen, and now comes knight to f8. Bishop to b6, controlling the d6 square. We have knight 6 to d7, and now comes c5. So now this bishop is not the greatest of pieces, but it actually is, as it still controls the d8 square, which is a very important square, and you don't ever want to capture this. If you play knight captures, a captures, then white already has a passed pawn on b6. It's a protected passed pawn, well, black will never be able to trade down, go into an endgame with white having a passed pawn on b6. And also, it's very hard for black to actually activate any pieces. But okay, after c5, we have knight to e6, and now comes bishop back to b1. The rook is now controlling the d file for the moment, but also the bishop leaves the third rank. Carlsen is preparing a very nice rook lift by rook to a3. So knight to d4 now, as the knight on d7 was under attack. The knight now blocks the rook. Rook to a3. Now if knight captures, then the rook can also capture on f3. Knight back to f8, and now comes knight captures on d4, not allowing this knight to further protect the d4 square with knight to e6. E captures on d4, and now comes f4. And now, while you can go knight e6, with e5, this knight isn't really going anywhere, and it's very hard to imagine that black will be able to develop anything. The rook can never move, the queen doesn't really have anywhere to go now that the e5 has been played. You're no longer pressuring the f4 square. Black is lost here. So after f4, we have rook to e7 by black. Now comes e5, and here comes rook c to e8. Now black couldn't really do anything along the d file, but has managed to double rooks along the e file. And perhaps if you can create some sort of a blockade here, maybe push f6, then maybe just maybe your position can be playable. Here we have knight to e4 by Carlsen, and here comes knight to e6. There's really no way to go about this position. You have to make room for the rook. If you play something like f5 and allow knight to d6, your rook is trapped. The bishop is controlling d8, the knight is controlling the entire 8th rank, so you do have to make some room for the rook. So knight to e6, but now comes knight to d6, attacking the rook. And here, the problem is if you go rook f8, then rook f1 is coming, this rook is coming to f3, white will push f5, and black cannot move any pieces. The bishop can move back and forth, but that's not really relevant here. The queen doesn't have anywhere to go, you can't use any of the squares for your rooks, and the white will simply slowly but surely increase the position, and then in the end win by playing anything. White's position plays itself, basically. So after knight to d6, we have knight captures on f4. Black decides to give up a knight for 3 pawns, but it's not quite what it seems. Carlsen plays queen captures on f4. We have bishop captures on e5, attacking Carlsen's queen. Queen to f2, not worrying about any tactics because there are none, so it's actually okay to put your queen on the same diagonal as the king. Bishop captures on d6, c captures on d6, and this is the problem. Here, his opponent thought that perhaps he could capture here, but there is no better move. your rook is under attack, and if you move the rook anywhere along the e file, then queen captures on f7 will win the game. And there are no other squares for the rook. The only square for the rook where the rook is not lost is d7. But after rook to d7, pretty much anything wins for white. Let's say you go rook to f3, attack the pawn, and after king g7 defending, then you can simply sacrifice the bishop here. Bishop captures, and after f captures, you will go bishop captures on d4, and now it's a forced checkmate in 6. But whatever black plays, let's say king g8, now you get queen to a2 check, and after king to h7, you will get rook to f7 check. King will move. Now comes rook to e7 check, and after king f8 you will get bishop to g7 checkmate. So a lot of different ways for black to lose this. So black tried queen captures on d6, but now Carlsen just played bishop to c5, and now you already gave up a piece for some pawns, but now you are also losing the exchange here, and this will not be playable. So in this position, Farrukh Amonatov resigned the game. Once you move the queen, let's say queen c7, you will play bishop captures, and after queen captures, you will play queen captures on d4, and you are just down a whole rook. So it's very interesting how Carlsen played out this entire game by forcing this bishop basically to pretend to be a pawn for the rest of the game. But yeah, a very much needed win for the world champion in this 10th round of the 2018 Rapid Championship. Like I said, we're going to cover some more games after I show you this game, so we're going to check out the results after round 10. In that video, I'm probably going to be uploading it right after this one, of course, after I make it. But yeah, quite an interesting game, and there were so many interesting games. I already have a couple of them that I'm planning to show, but feel free to use hashtag suggestions. I also saw your suggestions from yesterday, so I will try to at some point, because it's the first day of the Rapid, second day, then third day of the Rapid, then 2 days of Blitz, so it's very hard to find the actual time to, do it, as I also very much enjoy watching the live broadcast. But yeah, that's the game. I do hope you enjoyed it. I would like to thank Dhruv Parekh, Marius Lichtendal, Gabriel Sanchez, Ali Sharafi, and Thanos for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon with some more interesting content from the 2018 World Rapid Championship. Thank you all, and I will see you soon.